Good morning. I have a little confession to make. I haven't been out on my bike since the last film I made. Now that's down to a number of factors. The biggest one is that my wife is visiting family in the UK, which means that all the chores fall on me to do, the goats, chickens and everything else, and it leaves very little time in a usable day for cycling. And when I say usable day, I mean time when it isn't baking hot and horrendously humid. But sadly, there's another factor in play, and that's that I haven't fancied it. I've lost my cycling mojo. I wouldn't really be out today either if it weren't for the fact that I wanted to make a film for you lot. So thank you for that. So in respect to my somber mood, I thought I'd take busy. I thought I'd take you to some of the dark side of the Ebro Valley. And rather sadly, this is where I normally see the wild ibex. And it looks like the road management people have cut back all the vegetation. So no ibex. I was relying on an ibex or two to cheer me up. Hello. So one of the Ebro's darker things, depending on your outlook, is the Asco 1 and 2 nuclear reactors. They're the biggest employer in the area, and they're set to decommission in 2029 and 2030, which is going to be hopefully you can see that. That's a barrier that was erected. I'll tell you that. So we're in Fleesh, and Fleesh has what is the second largest employer in the area, and it's this rather charming chemical works. Now it's been here since the 1700s, obviously not in that form, but they used to make things like batteries. And unfortunately, what they didn't really tell anyone is that they were dumping their waste into the river over centuries. But the reason they were caught out dumping their waste was actually due to a contract that the Catalan government gave to a private company to get rid of what they saw as an invasive species, the catfish, from the river, which were actually introduced there in the 70s. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. You like heavy industry. So these catfish started being caught, and as part of the process the Catalan government tested them to make sure that they were safe. The company that were catching them were going to send them back to Romania as a food stuff for humans, and so they tested them and found that they had 5 times the maximum legal level of mercury in their bodies, particularly along the line of the swim bladder. You could actually see silver. So they tried to figure out where it had come from, and it came from here. Now this factory is also planning on shutting. It's not economically viable anymore. But what they've been told to do is to start cleaning up the 800,000 tons of contaminated silt which is in front of their factory, and that's what's been washed down the stream all of these years. And so they've started doing it. They've put in a very impressive barrage to contain, so that no more can actually go downstream, and they've started to clean it up. But what they've been told is that it must be completely finished by the time that they leave, by the time that it shuts. And so lo and behold, they've decided not to shut, but to actually keep on a research team of 20, so that they actually aren't shutting at all. or rather the other 1,500 people can bugger off, but these 20 probably going to sit around doing nothing, just so the company don't have to comply with the cleanup that they've been ordered to do if they shut. It's absolutely disgusting. We're supposed to be having a bit of a somber day, talking about the bad things of the area, which is a bit difficult when you're somewhere like this. I'm going over the dam at the moment. It's beautiful. Anyway, it's a dam. So in the 50s, Franco started building, not personally, he started building hydro dams so that he could modernise Spain with electricity. And he built hundreds. This is one of them. I'm trying to think of the downside of hydro and dams and reservoirs for drinking and washing, etc. And the only one really is that is there one behind me? There is. I'll have to tell you this story in a bit. So the downside, as I was saying, it's difficult to think of downsides when you're out riding. The riding has put a spring in your pedal stroke, the sun's shining, it's not too hot. I've got to think of bad things now because I've started. So all of Franco's dams on the River Ebro have acted to remove the sediment from the river, and so the delta at the very end of the river, which goes out into the Mediterranean, is one of the few deltas that Europe has. I think second in size only to the Danube's delta. Well, it's shrinking because it's not being added to by sediment from the river, which is quite sad, and it might mean the end of this incredibly diverse habitat that's there, where I think there are over 400 bird species have been recorded. Well, it's worked. Despite talking about somber, dark things, I'm back with a real, wow, just makes you feel great, doesn't it, cycling? Really great. Thanks for watching.